This is Polish Peter, and you are listening to episode 88 of Immigrant Masters Unite. What if I told you that the secret to getting what you want is actually failure? What if I told you that failure is where the magic happens? And what if I told you that in order to get to being an owner of a very successful company, like my guest on this particular episode, who owns a 7-figure company, is by actually failing and over and over and over again? And how do you actually do it? Through resilience. What does that look like? So, hey, this is Polish Peter, and welcome to another amazing episode of Immigrant Masters Unite, where immigrants unite, transform lives. That's right. This podcast is all about helping you transform your life, your business, and the world around you. Now, on this particular episode, I have Amir Erez. He is originally from Israel. Amir is a husband, a father, and a friend, and a full-time real estate investor out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He literally came to the United States with, get this, $365 in his pocket. Now imagine that for a second. You got $365 in your pocket. What do you do, right? Well, he had all kinds of different jobs, and he shared some of those jobs on here. And ultimately, in 2012, ended up in real estate. When today, he is a co-founder and CEO of a company, real estate wholesaling flipping company. That's a 7-figure company called Fair Deal Home Buyers. And on this particular episode, he shared about the resilience. He talked about the failures. He talked about how do you actually become resilient? How do you actually learn from the failures? There was a big failure that I asked him to share, and he shared that failure, and he told us how he actually learned from that failure and how that became one of the core values in his company. So I want you guys to listen from this perspective of failure is where the magic happens. And how do you go find it? How do you actually get better living your life and getting after the business and the success that you really want to do? So I'm excited about this episode because it gives a different perspective on the failure, gives a different perspective on resilience and who we are as human beings. And I just love talking about this. So without further ado, here is Amir from Israel. Well, thank you, Amir, for coming onto the podcast, man. I appreciate you coming on here.
Hey, Peter. I really appreciate you having me. Yeah, of course. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, so you came recommended to me by someone, the friends of mine online, and I figured I reached out to you and had a short conversation. And I just love your story of how you came here and what you had to deal with, overcome, and resilience and all that kind of stuff. So I want to dive a little bit on this particular episode about that. But before we get there, tell a little bit to the audience of your background, where you come from, and what you had to kind of deal with and what you do right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from Israel. I was born and raised in Israel. I served in the military for 3 years, and after the military, I went traveling a little bit, kind of all over the world. It's a really kind of a common thing in Israel to do after you finish the army. I went traveling, and then after my traveling, I got to the U.S. And I stayed here. Really kind of came with a dream to make it happen, live the American dream, and say that in the beginning I didn't really have the vision or on how I'm going to do it, but I just went with that. I know I wanted to do something and do something big, and I kind of start working in anything and everything that I could. I didn't go to college. I didn't have any college education, and I just pretty much worked in. I've been a waiter. I've been a tow truck driver. I've been a locksmith until 2012, when I got into real estate in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I lived since 2009. I got to the U.S. in 2006, and kind of got into real estate around 2012, and really things are start to work out for myself and my business partner. And it all kind of rolled from there. Today we are running a 7-figure flipping and wholesaling company, and doing very well for ourselves and looking to grow that business. And that's where we are today.
Okay, awesome. Very good. Just for the context, because a lot of my listeners have some inclination or have some relationship or knowledge about real estate, the creative real estate aspect. How many deals do you guys do a year?
2020, we did 110 deals.
Okay, not too shabby.
Yeah.
Awesome, very cool. So listen, so that's obviously there was a journey that happened through that. And you, at the beginning, you said, I've done all kinds of different things, right? You've tried different things. How did you arrive at real estate? Was it by an accident, or is it like, you know what, this is why I want to go after, and, sticking with it and going after it?
I think that the real estate part somewhere was in my head since I was, I don't know, maybe 17 or 18 years old. I've never had a passion really for it, but I kind of had an idea that real estate is great. It's something that you want to be in maybe in the future. Mm-hmm. And then between 2009 to 2012, I had a locksmith business, which kind of had me, and I had a couple other guys that are working for me, going on, houses to unlock houses. And it was during the kind of big recession. I went to multiple houses that people were pretty much evicted by the bank, mm-hmm. that had to move out. And I was the one that is coming to change the locks. And from time to time, not only one time, I mean, maybe 5 or 6 times, that I came across people that they just didn't want you, tried to kick me out of the house, not to change the locks. They refused to leave. Many times came with the sheriff to change the locks. And I remember one particular time is I had a conversation with a person that I came to change the lock on the house that he lost, that he foreclosed on, and he was devastated. And that what kind of triggered me and gave me the idea to get into real estate, A, the market, B, if there is any way, shape, or form that we can help the community by beautifying homes, helping people. And that's what we are focused on right now and doing, is helping people get, from underneath, if it's foreclosure or if they're about to lose their house for different circumstances for different reasons. That's kind of how I got to real estate.
Awesome. You know what I find interesting is that you were sharing, and this is a common denominator that I see a lot of times with super successful people, is right now you just said, I got into real estate. You didn't say because I can make a lot of money. You said that I can go and help people beautify houses and revitalize the community and that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Does that matter for you, that shift, that there's a big why? There's a difference there, right?
It matters for me. It's huge for me, personally for me. Look, we all very different in, how we view the world. Mm-hmm. But for me, and as far as also my company and the people that work in here, community, and helping and sharing, all those things, these are my personally top priorities when doing business or anything like that. I think that the money aspect is fun, is great, is good, but mm-hmm. it's really, at the end of the day, if you're in business for a long time, you would probably have to agree with me that it's not all about the money, right? Money is not going to make you happy. At the end of the day, you can have gazillion dollars. It's not what is really going to make you happy or feel fulfilled.
So let me ask you this. When you started, did you have money when you came here?
No, I came to the U.S. literally after my traveling with $365 in my pocket.
Okay.
I did not start with money. I'm not coming from a family that has money to support me in, the endeavors or anything. I'm not coming from a poor family, but very kind of mid.
Gotcha. So listen, let me ask you this. What would you say to someone, they ask you well, listen, Amir, you have a 7-figure company. It's easy for you to say it's not about the money, right? But I need money, right? I have to get money. So how do I actually, in my head, use it that like, okay, it's not about money. It's about something bigger to actually help me make money.
Yeah. So I think more than anything is, first of all, an idea and belief that you can succeed. It doesn't matter what it is that you want to do. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. When you have that perspective, because at the end of the day, it's all about mindset. And when you get this mindset that you can make it, you can do whatever you set your mind to do, and you stick to it, and you keep doing the little things, not the big, don't think about the $1 million, right? Think about $1,000 if you don't have. Think about 2,000. Think about then 20,000. Think about then 25,000. Think about the little increments that you can jump, or the little things that you can do every day, over and over and over and over again, and keep doing them. From my perspective, in my life and what I see other people, it all boils down to people are not sticking to what they said they're going to do for themselves. Forget about anybody else.
All right.
And that is a huge part of not being successful, or not, having money, or whatever it is that you want to translate it. It's consistency.
Right. And two things that I'm taking away from what you just said there is, one, I heard you talking about the secret to getting to a 7-figure company is not these grand, big things that you accomplish. It's on a daily basis, the little things that are keeping the needle moving forward, right? Focusing on the steps just in front of you. The next step in front of you gets you to the next bigger step, right? And that's Correct. The secret to the success. And the other aspect that I heard from you saying is, when it comes to being successful, is keeping the word within yourself. And that comes to the resilience that we talked about a little bit before. So when it comes to resilience, would you mind sharing some of the obstacles that you had to overcome, some of the failures that you had to deal with on this journey here?
Yes.
Like, what's your favorite failure?
My favorite failure came not pertaining to real estate. Mm-hmm. Something that I've learned when I had a locksmith business. I had someone that he didn't have a partnership with me, but he had some stake of equity. It helped me with websites and stuff like that. That did a lot of work for me. And at some point, this person pretty much kind of hijacked my websites, and he does not live in the country here.
Wow!
So to go after him was a big problem mm-hmm. for me, and I lost a significant amount of income every year, nearly all my income. And in 2012, I pretty much started kind of all over again.
Right.
When I started real estate. So that was a huge, I lost the consistent income that I had because this person did what he did. And, that's a big failure that I had that I learned a lot from about, how to handle similar situations, a situation like that next time.
Okay. What kind of lessons did you learn from that?
First of all, what I learned is, people are great, but when you don't work with people, and you just know it sometimes, right? When you don't work mm-hmm. with people that are sharing the same values as you, it's not going to work out at the end of the day. And people that don't share the same values as you are, but sometimes as human being as we are, we're trying to make excuses to ourselves why something right. is going to work out for us in this way or another way, and keep like rationalizing why things are going to happen the way that we want them to happen, although it's just not meant to be, and you kind of know it deep inside.
Right.
At least that was the story with me, and I believe that's, with many other people kind of sharing the same situations in business, in life, with employees, with family, whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because I think part of that comes from lack of clarity. I think we don't have clarity on the life or the business, because if you have clarity on that vision for your business, let's say, or when it comes to life, right? Clarity on your life. When you're looking for a partner, you're looking for a wife, or you're looking for a boyfriend or whatever, you don't have clarity on who that person you want to work with or be with, then you start making excuses why that person should, get in your life, right? And be in your life. And I think moving forward from that, to have a 7-figure company, you probably have people working for you, right? Yeah. So you probably develop some kind of a company culture, and you're probably now hiring based on those company values and all that kind of stuff, right? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are hiring only based, not only, but if someone does not match our culture or our core values, it's just not a good fit. And even though we, all the lessons that I've learned before and everything that I mentioned you from, past failures, when you start, when you have employees and your company grows, there is another learning curve, right? You're trying to bring people, or that appears to you as if, they're a great talent, but it boils down to the same things. If they're not sharing the same core values, and if they're not a good cultural fit because of these core values, it's just not going to work out at the end of the day. So yes, we are hiring only based on core values and understanding what.
So how did you develop those core values? How did you find those out?
That's a good question. About 2 years ago, I think someone kind of asked me the same question. What are your core values? And I said, look, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know where I came from, what my family. So I started kind of thinking about those things. And then he asked me, who are your role models? Who are people that you look after? And I started naming, a couple of the things, a couple of the people, and said, well, what do you find in them? These are your core values.
I love that. Yeah. And that's a great answer, because this is how you start developing them, right? This is how you start putting them on paper and putting it into practice and putting it with your company. So is one of those core values resilience somewhere in there?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about why is that so important for you and your company?
And I'll tie it to resilience is comes a lot with failure, right? When we're trying to accomplish things in life, we, a lot of times what happens is we go straight and then we fall down. And a lot of people, when in the deep, after all this experience that they had flying, they're falling, and they don't want to do the work to get up, right? And that is the resilience. After you fell or falling very deep to try to, get out of that situation and come on the other side, that is resilience, right? Not giving up, keep going. That is something that is for myself, and also my business partner, is something, from our story, from where we came from, everything that we had to go through, passing through those things that, keeping you down, because this is where growth happens. And that's where I think a lot of people don't understand it. Growth happens within failure. If you're not failing, if you've never failed, there is no way that you're going to grow beyond what, the dreams that you were dreaming about, or, where you want to be.
Right.
Growth happens when you fail, because this is where you learn a lot. And it takes a lot of resilience to keep going.
Right. So let me talk a little bit about that, because I think what I found out as a coach, as a person who's been interviewing a lot of people here on this podcast, is the people who talk about the resilience are people who failed the most. And people who fail the most are the people who are most successful, right? And you kind of touched on that. So my question to you is, how the heck do you keep getting back up? Like, how do you, life knocks you down or whatever, put you in a hole, knocks you down again and again and again. And at what point do you say, man, is it really worth it? Or how you keep getting up? How do you keep going? So, hey guys, we're going to get right back into this particular episode. But before we do, I want to share something with you. As you know, I am a transformational coach, and I help people live the true American dream for their life. That goes with business and life together. And one of the things that we're discussing in this particular episode is about failure, right? But the important thing is actually learning and gaining wisdom out of that failure. So if you failed in life, and by the way, if you're past 20, you failed in life. So if you failed in life and you have a hard time getting to the next level, to getting to the next step, I want to invite you to have a conversation with me for free, no obligation, at oneconversationaway.com. Failure is inevitable, but what matters is how you handle it, how you move from it, what you learn from it. So I invite you to have a conversation with me at oneconversationaway.com. That's oneconversationaway.com, where we're going to dive into your own life. Between you and me, personally, no obligation, I'm going to help you uncover some of those limiting beliefs that get created a lot of times from failures. If you've been wondering why you can't make something happen in life, why you can be successful, I will tell you this. Most of the reason is because you failed something in life and you created a belief outside of it, out of it, and it's stopping you from actually getting better and succeeding in life. So would you like to find out how to tackle that, how to get through it, how to actually make it work and use it to your advantage? If so, jump on oneconversationaway.com, schedule a free conversation with me. Just fill out the short form so we know that I can help you and we can have a great conversation. So hope to see you on there, and let's get back into this amazing interview.
So I think it's all boils down to, what are your goals and what do you want from life? When you have a certain goal in your mind and you can see it, at least it's for me, when I can see it very, very clearly in my mind, when I close my eyes, I can dream it and I can see it. It helps me to laser focus on where I want to be and how I want to achieve my goals. And as soon as I set this, I block anything that happens. Doesn't matter what happens. Anything that happened from here moving on, negative, it's all a learning experience to be able to get to where I need to be. And some of the dips are really, really painful. Really painful, really hard. We can sit here and I can talk about that, but at the end of the day, I had days that I sat and cried. I had days that it was very, very, very painful, and I was stressed out like crazy. It can sound, the people that listen to this, so maybe easy, just words, but it's not. It's going to be very tough. It is very tough sometimes, and you just gotta, keep going, keep moving forward. And this is how it works for me. Seeing the goal, not taking my eyes off the goal, and always thinking about that.
Right. I love that, because a couple of things I heard from that is, And I have this quote that I live by, and I share it. If you've been following me on social media at any point, you probably heard me share this quote by Tony Robbins is, where focus goes, energy flows, right? And you keep talking about focusing on the right thing, focusing on the right thing. And I think that is important to keep getting up. The other thing I heard you through as you're sharing on this podcast is that why, right? Having that why, because when you're down in the hole, when you get knocked down, if you let that thing keep you down and not focus on that goal, not focus on the why, it's going to keep you down, right? So absolutely. My next question for you is, because I find that quite often with someone who are just starting out, that, and we hear this online quite often too, is, $1 million, I made $1 million in the last 24 hours, right? And being successful and all that kind of stuff. But what they don't say is that 10, 15, sometimes 20 years, sometimes 30 years that it took for them to actually get to that moment. So there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes, right? So how does a 7-figure business owner operate? How does that work?
As far as you mean?
As far as give us a little bit behind the scenes. Like, is it all nice and rosy? You make $20 million in 24 hours kind of thing? Or what happens behind there, man?
I don't make $1 million in 24 hours. It took 37 years, 38 years now. Mm-hmm. It did not happen overnight, and sometimes it's it's just not easy. But we kind of make it happen. It's not all rosy. It's not all fun all the time. We had in our business big struggles. I failed in this industry many times, and lost money as well before I got to where I'm at today. So no, it didn't happen overnight. And to build a 7-figure company, it's experience. Mm-hmm. It's persistent. It's keep doing the same things over and over again till you get the result that you want. And when things are not working, you need to change them.
Right. Need to shift. Awesome. I love that. Yeah, it's a pretty simple formula, right?
It is.
And what we tend to do is sometimes we tend to overcomplicate it. There's got to be something more to this, right? There's got to be something more, because otherwise, why are we doing this? And the fact of the matter is, if you just apply this formula that you just shared, and by the way, it's a simple formula. It's not easy. It's not easy to execute, but it's very simple. And that's why there is very few multimillionaires and so many, people who keep struggling and all kinds of stuff, because it's not an easy formula, right? So Next question for you is, someone is looking to maybe an immigrant who came to States, or they're starting up and they just discover, man, I need to take control of my own life and become an entrepreneur and start my own business, whatever it might be. What would you tell them? How would you tell them to get going?
So I would say this. I would say, first of all, if you're an immigrant, you have an advantage.
How so?
You are coming to a different country with a dream or a reason. There is a reason why you got here. Mm-hmm. And when you are underdog, because this is how we feel as immigrants maybe in the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. It's like all of this, everyone, and it's me, and at least that's how it was for me. I don't know if everybody, but you have an advantage because you are going to be willing to work harder, and you are going to need to work harder for the things that the average Joe is looking at them today as just simple, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a given. As an immigrant, it's not. And that's why it's so powerful an advantage, because it keeps you always on edge to try to find the next thing, to try to do the next thing, to be better all the time, and to keep moving forward. And as an immigrant coming here, you are willing to work in anything. At least, once again, that's what it was in my case. I was willing to work at anything, any hour at the day, anywhere.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that because of the fact that, I keep saying this on the podcast, and I'll keep saying this over and over again, is this is a land of opportunity. It still is today. And I think it will be in the coming years. And we do have an advantage. You mentioned a great advantage because of the resilience, the work ethic, and all that kind of stuff. Not this discount because there was a lot of people who've been born here, who their parents were born here, and all that stuff, who are hard workers, right? But I think the other aspect of that is that we as immigrants have a different perspective that we bring into this because of our different upbringings, because of our different cultures that we came from, or whatever it might be. That perspective allows us to have a different lens and different view on how to approach a business, right? How to create a business. Because that, I think, let me ask you this. Is there an Israeli flavor in your company of how you run your company? Is there some flavor of your background in there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How so?
I think the warmth and the atmosphere is very different. Look, I haven't worked in corporate America, but I know that I have 6 people that did. And one thing, and they also worked in corporate America, but also worked in smaller companies and in bigger companies. And one thing that they all say in common is there is something much more like warm and welcoming, and you guys here really care about us and pour into us. I'm sure there are other companies that are doing that are not owned by immigrants, but I think this is what we bring, our warmth, that care about the community, the togetherness, that is maybe different.
Awesome. Was that something that as you were growing up was important for you, the community?
Yes, absolutely. And yes, very, very much so. I grew in a family and in a group of friends that always kind of came to my house. My house was kind of the center of all the friends, and it was always welcoming, and the door is always open, and everyone can come whenever they want, type of thing. And this is how we run our business as well.
I love that. Very cool, man. Awesome. So listen, I want to make sure that I respect your time. I love this interview because you're sharing some really good nuggets here. My first question in the Polish Speakers Final Round is, if you were to tie in everything that we just talked about, because we talked about resilience, we talked about culture, we talked about some core values that you have, we talked about the advantage that the immigrants have in this country. What would you say the last piece of advice to an immigrant listener?
I would say, do not be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure, as I mentioned before a little bit, failure is where the magic happens. And when you set your mind on doing something and you fail, change, shift, pivot, but keep doing what you need to do. And when you do fail, it's just a learning curve. You become better and better.
Yeah, I love that. 2 days ago, actually, I posted on my social media profile, I said, in every failure lies a new discovery. And I just love what you just said about in failure, that's where the magic happens. And I think that is a really cool thing, because when you start looking for the magic, that's where you're going to find it, right? So go after it. Fail as many times as possible. But what ends up happening, I think, for people, there's a little switch that happens here is you look for the magic. Not so much worry about failure, but you look for the magic. I love that. Okay, next question. What book would you recommend to the listener?
So I'm I'm reading a lot of books, but one book that I really like,
Hmm.
and I think can uh, resonate with a lot of people. Doesn't matter who is watching this.
Hmm.
It's Go Giver.
Yeah, I love that book. Yeah, Go Giver. Yep.
That's my recommendation.
Is that part of your business?
It is very much so part of my business, and it's something that I tell everyone new that come to the company that I'm gifting them this book.
Awesome. Well, so that's probably one of the books that you gifted the most too, huh?
Yes.
All right, very cool. Awesome. Next question. Um, what would you want to share as far as the old country, Israel? Maybe it's a custom, maybe it's people, maybe it's a saying, maybe it's a place that we wouldn't normally know about, but you would love for the listeners to know about Israel.
The food.
The food?
The
Tell me,
food.
like, what kind of food? Specifically, any kind of food, or?
There is no specific food. The great thing about Israel is it's such a multicultural place that
Really?
the Jews that came from all over the world, right after the Holocaust from Europe, or it came from Morocco, or
Hmm.
um, Iran, or from Jews came from all over the world to Israel. The food in Israel is just amazing.
Awesome. So if I went over there, what would you recommend I try?
Wow, there's so many things. Breakfast, shakshuka.
Shashuka?
Shakshuka.
Shakshuka, what is that exactly?
It's like eggs and tomatoes,
Okay.
kind of a breakfast, yeah, but it's delicious.
All right. I'm getting hungry right now. Just listen.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. I believe that every single person in the world has a superpower. What's yours?
Um, my superpower is definitely seeing the vision and be able to articulate it to my team and make them understand that the way that I feel they need.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where my superpower is. I have ability to see things, not the future, but as far as the vision into the future, and what kind of we need to do next. What is the
Right.
next steps?
Yeah. Sounds like you're a visionary in the company.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Very cool. Next question. It's kind of an odd question, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
Would you, knowing that you know right now, I mean, you've had this journey, right? And you've created this company, looking over your past and everything, would you rather have had an easy road or a hard road?
Oh, Peter, I, I would not change anything in what happened and who I am and where I came from, especially with all the bad things. First, everything could be much worse,
Mm-hmm.
and I would not ever would take the easy path or the path of least resistance. I'd like to. It's what I do today in kind of anything, but I like to take the rough roads
Mm-hmm.
to be the best at what I do.
I love that. And I'm glad that you said that because I think hopefully the listeners, those who are thinking, man, if it was only easier, right? It's
Right.
not the path. And I don't think it's the right path. And I think the path of when you actually go out there and do it and the tough road that you've taken out, that's what builds you. That's what creates you and that's what grows you. And that's what gets you to where you, like you, for instance, are today. So I love that. Awesome. So last question. If somebody want to reach out to you, someone to find out more about you or maybe, work with your company or whatever, how would they go about doing that?
So my company is Fair Deal Home Buyers, and it's fairdealhomebuyers.com. If anyone wants to reach me, the best is on Facebook. They can connect. Amir Erez. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. I'll put that in the show notes. So, Amir, thank you so much for being on the podcast, for sharing yourself, sharing your life and some of your failures, and being open and vulnerable on here, because I think that's what I love about one of the things actually I just popped into my head is the love interviewing the immigrants, because they're so vulnerable. They're willing to share. They're willing to be open. Because they're willing to help others, because the journey that they took something for them to do that, and they want to help others. So, and this is your heart, I think. So for those who are listening, thank you so much for listening on this particular podcast, because guess what? Without you listening, I will be just talking to myself and Amir here, right? And the fact that you guys are listening, you help me spread the message to empower the community, empower not only the immigrant listeners, but a lot of people in this country, because of the fact that what we human beings are powerful people. Try on that. And what Amir was saying, the resilience. If you just keep being resilient, finding the magic in the failure, you do great in this particular country. So again, this is Polish Peter from Immigrant Masters Unite. And if you want to find out more about the episodes, head over to mastersunite.com. That's mastersunite.com. And I have about 80 some episodes on there of powerful lessons just like this one today. So Amir, thank you. And I'll see you guys on the next podcast.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much.
Welcome.